true attractiveness of Tokyo is high standard.
The true attractiveness of Tokyo is smart,
Talent.
tradition.
我想是这个词叫做城市文明。
Attractiveness of Tokyo, I think it's authentic.
Inspiration.
Builders community.
I think about trust.
Discovery. The best thing about Tokyo that I've always loved is just wandering the streets.
Time machine.
So my word would be cultured.
Why Japan is attractive? Because it's fair.
Tokyo is vibrant.
The true charm of Tokyo is its people.
What I think of when it comes to Tokyo is pursuit.
Trustfulness. You can trust Tokyo.
Enlightenment.
I chose the word access.
My word for the trip is opportunity.
The true attractiveness of Tokyo is definitely the people.
I think is professionalism.
The true attractiveness of Tokyo is green.
私、中村和太郎の思う東京の真の魅力は混じるです。僕が思う東京はこの文字です。
Comfortability. The true attractiveness of Tokyo is hospitality. おもてなし。
The true attractiveness of Tokyo is fusion.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us for Day 2 of Unleash Tokyo. Today's opening session is Business Development and Market Opportunities for Foreign Companies in Japan, presented by Salesforce.com's VP, Head of Industries Transformation Japan, Sanae Imai.
Hello, I'm Sanae Imai from Salesforce.com Japan, where I lead the Industries Transformation Group to support customers' digital transformation. Salesforce, the current leader in CRM cloud services, started operations in San Francisco just 22 years ago. The Tokyo office opened a year later and has since grown steadily. Before I begin, I'd like to give a quick reminder that customers should base their purchasing decisions on products and services that are currently available. In 2020, we faced more than we ever could have imagined: a global pandemic, an economic crisis, systemic racism, and the ongoing challenge of climate change. Yet, we have shown resilience, inspirations, and innovation. We understand many businesses have been going through challenging times, so we really want to thank you for joining us today. And we'd especially like to thank everyone who has on the front lines: healthcare workers, all essential workers, scientists, and educators. You all are the heroes of 2020. To start, I would like to introduce myself further. I joined Salesforce 4 years ago, having worked for NTT and Microsoft. My background is in enterprise sales, especially to the public sector. Personally, I would like to change Japanese society to be more inclusive and diversified, where people can enjoy their lives fully. I believe that well-governed technologies are the powerful tools to accomplish this. Today, I will describe Salesforce, the appeal of Tokyo as a business hub, the activities and initiatives being undertaken by Salesforce with the Tokyo Metropolitan Government, and finally, business opportunities available to you by Salesforce Tokyo. I will tell you more about Salesforce.com. At Salesforce, we are thrilled with the success that our platform and our Trailblazer community have been able to achieve. Our values have helped drive our revenues to 17.1 billion in fiscal year 20. We are particularly proud that we are also a leader in innovation, philanthropy, and in culture. As you can see, Salesforce has been ranked number 1 in CRM among the top 5 CRM vendors for the past 7 consecutive years by IDC. The Salesforce Customer 360 CRM platform is the world's number 1 CRM. It is a completely digital-first platform to meet the needs of the digital imperative for any business size and industry. Customer 360 empowers you to meet your customer from any physical location across market-leading applications in sales, service, marketing, commerce, and all of your touchpoints at scale. Salesforce adheres to 4 core values: trust, customer success, innovation, and equality. These values guide our business, and we align with our customers to achieve more together. One constant at Salesforce is that business is the greatest platform for change. I'm inspired by how we've responded to current crises and business challenges, and by our efforts to change and help those in need. At Salesforce, we believe that we can help all stakeholders, our customers, employees, partners, and the wider community of Trailblazers. And we've witnessed incredible efforts across our community. Next, I'd like to explain why I use Access to describe Tokyo as a good place for your new business location, and describe the changes happening in Tokyo recently. These are 3 figures that represent Tokyo's appeal. Overall, Tokyo can provide access to capital, talent, technology, business opportunities, efficient infrastructure, a safe and clean environment, and varied entertainment. Tokyo currently ranks 3rd in global city rankings, such as Global Power City Index by Institute for Urban Strategies, the Mori Memorial Foundation. While it has shown stability in all criteria, its ranking in environment and transportation has especially been steadily rising. Tokyo also has a strong financial center offering access to startup capital. Tokyo is an urban center with a population of 36 million people and has access to an educated, talented, and diversified workforce, which migrates to Tokyo from all over Japan and worldwide. For example, talented sumo wrestlers are from all over Japan and 40 countries. The culture in Tokyo is more inclusive and open compared to other local cities. People with blue-collar t-shirts are my colleagues at the Tokyo Rainbow Pride held every April. You can access any location in Japan within just 3 hours from Tokyo and discover unknown treasures in local cities and towns, including developed industries, talents, and various cultures. I'm from Nagano City, where you can reach there within 2 hours from Tokyo by Shinkansen bullet train. You can enjoy the wild nature and exciting seasonal cuisine and delicious sake there. Digital transformation, which has slowed to ignite in Japan, was accelerated by the COVID-19 disaster and has made great strides. Administrative procedures such as the use of official stamps and paper documents and barriers to foreigners setting up new companies in Japan also started to be eliminated. This is expected to make it easier for foreign companies to enter Japan market in the future. Business restructuring will also accelerate, triggered by the COVID-19 pandemic. Companies that do not take on new challenges will not survive. Japanese industries, government, and academia, all very traditional and historically resistant to change, are now all participating in global collaboration for diversity, inclusiveness, and openness to foreign business to survive. This is a Salesforce TV commercial. The message in this video mirrors what I shared with you. Please watch this 30-second video.
Rather than perfection, maintaining perfection.
Rather than criticize, but to suggest.
Rather than to grieve, but to have humor.
常識よりも非常識を。
Rather than for the past, but for the future.
意味なく群れるよりも意志のある孤立を。
Rather than just for myself, but for the world.
Rather than the world as it is now, but to a world better than ever.
We are collaborating in innovative activities with Tokyo Metropolitan Government. I also recommend that you read this book, Trailblazers, by our founder and CEO, Mark Benioff. He has strongly committed to the WEF initiatives, including the Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution. There are many C4IR centers worldwide, but C4IR Japan in Tokyo is the second center worldwide and plays a very important role. 2 years ago, I represented Salesforce at C4IR Japan as a fellow for the Smart City project. I worked closely with the members from Tokyo Metropolitan and other government agencies. I enjoyed the exciting and innovative work and thrilled discussion with global talented colleagues there. I'm very glad to tell you that the first Global Technology Governance Summit by the World Economic Forum will be held this April. Please stay tuned for the update in programs and speakers. This is the Salesforce office in Tokyo, to be named Salesforce Tower Tokyo, and to become operational from the second half of this year. It is the first Salesforce Tower to be opened in Asia. We are very looking forward to meeting you at this new tower. Last, Salesforce is positioned to partner with you for business opportunities in Tokyo. Together with our partners and customers, we are creating millions of Salesforce jobs around the world. The IDC has coined this effect the Salesforce economy and predicts it will add 4.2 million new jobs and $1.2 trillion in new business revenue by 2025. That's the equivalent of the combined GDPs of Thailand and Belgium, or the population of New Zealand, all getting new jobs. Salesforce Ventures, as the strategic investment divisions of Salesforce.com, aims to develop a B2B cloud ecosystem that contributes to customer success. Since 2009, we have invested in more than 400 startups in 23 countries. In Japan, since 2011, we have invested in more than 50 startups, contributing to the expansion of the Japanese SaaS market. Foreign startups are also expanding their operations in Tokyo and Japan. You can find famous ISVs in this chart. They are all Salesforce partners, and we have expanded the business together. Without them, our business wouldn't be successful as it is. While Japanese market requires some localization to provide their solutions, they show the great opportunities here. I'd like to finish up by adding that every winter, METI, the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, holds a healthcare business competition in which many foreign startups participate to introduce their solutions. I really love this event. It highlights that while Japan needs help from foreign, especially Asian startups, to meet our social challenges such as aging and depopulation, we also offer access to filling opportunities to test solutions. I hope you now understand Tokyo's appeal as an Asian business hub and Salesforce as a business partner. Please access Salesforce when in Tokyo. We are conveniently located and easily accessible in front of Tokyo Station. I look forward to seeing you. Thank you.
Up next is Business Development in Tokyo for Foreign Startups. This panel includes Oliver Tan, CEO and co-founder of ViSenze, and Timothy Yu, CEO of Snapask. Moderating this panel is 36Kr Chuhai partner Zhao Xiaochun.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the panel session of Unleash Tokyo. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Xiaochun from 36Kr Chuhai. We are very honored to have two distinguished speakers on this panel. Please allow me to introduce Timothy Yu, founder and CEO of Snapask, and Oliver Tan, CEO and co-founder of ViSenze. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today. Hi, Oliver. Hi, Timothy.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having us.
All right, good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Hi. First, could you guys please briefly introduce yourself and your company to our audience? Maybe let's start with Oliver.
Sure. My name is Oliver. I'm the co-founder and CEO of ViSenze. ViSenze is a 8-year-old AI company. We specialize in retail as well as e-commerce. We create AI tools primarily to help retailers, brands, and marketplaces help their clients to find products more efficiently.
I see. Thank you, Oliver. How about you, Timothy?
Right. So I'm Tim, founder and CEO of Snapask. So Snapask is basically Uber for tutoring. So we're in 8 different markets in Asia, right now supporting over 4 million students on their day-to-day study. So what we do is we connect them with tutors to have one-on-one sessions and with just one simple questions that they've asked, we can immediately connect them with high quality tutors from top universities within 15 seconds.
Okay, thanks guys. So next, Oliver, could you please tell us about your business in Japan and the plans for the Japanese market, like what you do in Japan?
Sure. So Japan is a important market for us. It's quite a unique market. Usually when we look at different markets, we look at regions: North America, Europe, Southeast Asia. All right. But in the case of Japan itself, we've treated that as a unique market simply because there is lots of potential in Japan, but it requires a different approach to go into that market. So we ventured into Japan about 2016, 2017. We took some time as Japan is a unique market with unique practices. But 4 years later, I'm very glad to say that, we've penetrated Japan. We've worked with different retailers and brands in Japan itself. And in the course of over that 4 years, I have also gained 2 Japanese investors in my company as a result of it. So I think it's a fair and very gainful experience, I would say, that I've done in Japan. We help brands like Uniqlo, for instance, in Japan, use our AI tools to create exciting shopping experiences for their customers, mainly on the e-commerce platform. We work with both online as well as offline platforms, including those in the stores today. I think COVID has brought more relevance to transformation in the stores today. So some of these stores are using our tools to be able to create digital experiences while you walk into the store. So I think that's done over the last 4 years or so.
Great, thanks, Oliver. How about you, Timothy? Tell us about your business in Japan and maybe some plans.
Yeah, so we launched Snapask in 2015, but we started from Hong Kong. So it was until 2018 when we realized there's a similar market opportunity in Japan. So before launching in Japan, we've also launched in other Southeast Asian market like Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, for instance. So Japan being one of our key markets, we observe tremendous market opportunities because our platform mainly supports students on their day-to-day learning. And as we all know, parents, not just in Japan, but in Asia in general, they are very involved in their kids' education. So parents are willing to spend a significant portion of their income to actually support their kids to learn better, to get into better universities. So it's the same case in Japan, and digital adaptation for students in Japan and also for parents are much more open as compared to any other countries that we have been launched in. So as of now, we have slightly over 300,000 students on the platform, asking questions every day from Japan, and a lot of tutors, because of the recent pandemic, they cannot do face-to-face tutoring. So is the case for students. They cannot go to tutorial centers anymore. So it introduced urgencies for them, not just the early adopters, but actually a majority of the students realize they have to learn online to find a more effective way to continue the education despite this pandemic. So that's why our user acquisition and the traffic within the platform has skyrocketed over the past 12 months. So it's been quite well for us. Yeah.
I see. Thanks. So I think you've already talked a little bit about Japanese market, like it's really different. So how is the Japanese market different from the other markets? Shall we start with Oliver?
How's the Japanese market different from other markets?
Yeah.
Well, it's different in many, many ways, of course. I mean, in terms of, Japan as a economic powerhouse, Japan has always been, a major economic engine. I think GDP growth is still one of the top 5 countries in the world. But I think Japan has its unique practices, and corporate and business Japan is something that any foreigners who is going to Japan itself has to understand. That's there's no similarity with rephrase. All right, there are similarities, but it has its own unique practices. So just the other day, I was just reading a World Bank report in 2019. Okay, that ranks what is the ease of doing business from around the world. And Japan was surprisingly, all right, ranked as 29th on the list itself. Okay. I was actually quite surprised. This is a report, a yearly report published by the World Bank, and Singapore was ranked as number 2. All right. And I think the ranking of that it's relative, of course. Okay, but for me it does indicate that it is just a way of understanding the way of doing business in Japan itself, because of its unique practices, its unique culture that has gone deep into corporate and business Japan itself. All right, we all know that corporate and business Japan moves at its own speed or its own pace. It's not like in China where everything is quick. But the Japanese approach is always very considered, very meticulous, very thoughtful, and that's why there is always that trade-off between speed and thoughtfulness and care and meticulation. Products are always very well thought through, in the finished product that actually gets out there. So I think it's just an understanding that foreign companies, startups have to understand specifically when they do business in Japan itself. And I think respect and patience are two virtues, values that we all have to learn when we work in business Japan. But one thing I do really appreciate is the Japanese patience and the care for partnerships. All right, the partnerships that they form with companies are usually very long-lasting ones. Okay, so I think that's something I truly appreciate.
That is good. Cool. How about you, Timothy? How would you describe the local business ecosystem? Like, how is it different from the other 7 markets you've been?
Yeah, I agree 100% with Oliver. So there was a stage when we first launched in Japan, we haven't hired anyone. We're just trying to run it as an international platform where launching in a certain market is just like turning on a switch. So people from Japan can download and start using the platform. But we realized it's actually not the best way. And initially, we're not well received in the market. So we made a change after the first 6 months. We started to hire local members. The first person we hired is a marketer with a designing background to actually revamp everything, that how people look at the brand, how people understand the brand, and what values we're providing. So that sort of localization, even just a very tiny bit of switching to make sure everything that they're seeing is localized. And not to mention education is an extremely localized topic, that you have to find local tutors, you have to find people to create local content, everything have to be localized to the local curriculum. So I think the key takeaway from the experience in launching in Japan and operating in Japan is really try to work with local talents with a very in-depth understanding and experience to the local market, and how to operate, to involve in their day-to-day they already have on the front line to operate. So the amount of trust we have to provide for local members, it's what drives success for the company. And I think for a lot of business as well, in other markets, probably we enjoy a great degree of internationalism that we can launch with basically no one. But for markets like Japan, it's very unique in many ways. And they treasure relationships, long-term partnerships, as Oliver suggested, and also how to build a long-term, mutually beneficial dynamic is also what we value a lot. So I think it definitely has this international side of it, but also the uniqueness that requires us to put enough effort to localize.
Great. I'm wondering how many people do you have now on the ground in Japan, and how do you talk to them?
We have a tutor team of about 3,000 plus. So these members, they're not day-to-day in our office, but we work with them very, very closely. But in-house, the team is about 10, 12 people. We're still growing exponentially with our day-to-day operation. We are still investing a lot of resources in the Japan market.
Okay, great. How about you, Oliver? Do you have a lot of people in Japan now?
We have a small team in Tokyo itself, about 3 persons. Our approach has always been, our business is more B2B. We're not consumer facing. So we keep our team small and lean. Having them very focused on one specific sector, I think that allows for them to make a deeper penetration, establish relationships much stronger than if they were to be diluted right across many verticals.
Okay, got it. Cool. Okay, so for my next question is, how do you guys see the potential of the market in your respective industries? So what are the opportunities maybe left for startups and foreign companies? So if you could, maybe let's start with Oliver.
Okay. What are the opportunities for a company like ViSenze, all right? So again, I mean, we focus a lot on retail and e-commerce. So that's our main segment. Japan is a big market, but certainly, of course, it's not as big as China or the US, all right? These are the 2 large consumer-facing markets that nobody can ignore. But Japan has always been, has a very strong domestic retail scene, all right? So if you go to, Ginza, for instance, it's, full of retail and everything. And of course, there are also a lot of strong Japanese brands like Uniqlo, for instance, or ZOZOTOWN, right? So they are well known internationally. So opportunities for us is to essentially help Japanese retailers and e-commerce companies move towards the transformation of retail. I think retail is one of those industries that are either very, very front or very, very back, all right, if you know what I mean. And I think COVID has brought about a situation in which many retailers who have not been able to transform themselves are now suffering the consequences of lockdowns and stores being shut down. All right, and in a way, I think old Japan in retail, it's feeling the impact of that. So the opportunity for companies like us would be, how can we make it easier for Japanese retailers and brands in order to make that transformation? One of those things that I've realized is that Japan today is more open than it was 10 years ago, definitely, all right? So, I've been participating in other conferences as well. And what I realized is that there's now been at least for the sector that I'm in, retail, there's now a very urgent need and growing desire amongst Japanese brands and retailers to learn from outside of Japan, all right? The learning desire that they have exhibited, and they want to know, why is China doing so well in e-commerce, for instance? What makes Alibaba and its pop-up shops, okay, and all these successes, all right? Why are they doing live streaming in China, okay, where 1/3 of the marketing budgets have gone over there, all right? So there are a lot of learning points that bigger markets or more fast-moving markets like China is now showing up lessons for the rest of the world, and that also includes Japan as well. So that means to say there is a desire, there's an urgency, and definitely an openness amongst corporate Japan itself to learn about innovations from outside of Japan. So that presents to us, to companies like us, that represents an opportunity, because we focus on innovations. We push the needle, push the envelope, okay, with the kind of AI tools that we can actually help them make that transformation.
How about you, Timothy? How do you find the opportunities in the education tech in Japan?
I think one of the uniqueness of the Japanese market as compared to others was the local consumers. They are very attached to more conventional brands that have established a long history in the market. And over the past years, before the pandemic, actually we find it not the easiest amongst all markets to acquire customers, because there are existing products locally that people can compare us to. And we are talking about competitors that has 20 plus years of local history. And it's not easiest for us to operate as a newcomer, but one advantage we enjoy is we are fully online, entirely 100% digitized product, and the experience is it's a lot more innovative in a way for people to experience the service. So when the consumers locally experience the pandemic, it's actually quite an interesting stage for them to look for new solutions. And again, it introduced urgency for them to move online. But it's not just the consumers who realize that. It's also businesses, the traditional long history brands with long history, who also realize they have to push for the next mile to actually go online, go digital. And without proper tools for them to do it themselves, they have to seek for partners like us. And we come in very handy with all sets of tools that we have, and with a innovative mind. A lot of these partners, they're willing to work with us directly to make it a much more compelling offering for their consumers. They have a long history, very good brand, and amazing content on their platform, and also teachers. And leveraging on our technology, they can create a much more comprehensive offering. So in short, I think what have brought us in the past year is really an integration and consolidation of online and offline. And we have started working with two key partners just within the last 3 months. One partner, just sharing an example, they are in an education center for language learning, English and Japanese learning. They are in the center of Shibuya for over 20 years. So over the past years, they have a lot of students, just everything happens offline. But because of the pandemic, they shut down for about 6 months. They have to go online. So we become their sole platform to interact, for their teachers to interact with the students. And they have almost tripled their student base by acquiring students who were not their students previously because of us. So I think this is one of the examples that shows how online and offline can work together very well. And the fact that in Japan, there are lots of offline players who have done an exceptional job for the past 20 years. And now is the time for them to actually go for the next stage, to go digital, to actually introduce a much more compelling offering with online tools. Yeah.
How would you describe the education tech industry in Japan? You know, in China, it's all the hype. There are a lot of startups, everything at the same time.
I definitely won't describe it as a hype, but a necessity, and everyone knows it's a trend that they should definitely go towards. I guess people realize the reason why they have to go online, not just because of the pandemic they cannot go out, but because it's actually a much more efficient way of learning. And only having a digital platform, personalized learning can happen. It cannot happen in a classroom. It cannot happen in a group setting. It can only happen on a one-on-one online environment to provide personalized learning, personalized teachers and content.
Got it. Cool. Thanks. So I guess you guys have already traveled a lot to Japan. So how do you like your stay in Tokyo, and what do you like the most? Oliver, tell us.
Well, I haven't traveled to Japan in the last year, so
yeah.
I'm missing a lot of Japan and a lot of nice things in Tokyo and you know, the food. What do I like about Japan itself? Well, I mean, Tokyo it's like a huge you know, metropolitan city, right? It's very, very dense, of course, all right? So if you would ask me what I like about it, it's ironically, it's the convenience of getting around, all right? So, you know, when you move around, you know, initially it was a big challenge because I don't speak Japanese, and, you know, the subway signs were really, really challenging, all right? But after a while, I kind of like figured out, all right, okay, how to read the signs more intelligently, and now I'm always on time for my meetings. Okay, I think the second thing which I like is the food. All right, that's amazing amount of food in Japan itself. Right, you can never go hungry. In Tokyo, all right, and Tokyo doesn't seem to sleep. All right, so you could still go out and at 1 a.m. and you can still find food. The lights are still there, and I think that's what I like about Japan, about Tokyo itself.
Great.
Yeah.
How about you, Timothy?
I think I like the most about Japan is the people, really. So we have worked with the opportunity to work with amazing partners and people in the team. So what I realized that's most valuable and things that are treasured in Japan is relationships and trust. And it's something that takes time to build, to develop. And over the years, what I've experienced is every time, even when I'm meeting the same group of people, my teammates, partners that I work with, every time they're bringing new people in and trying to build a smaller but getting bigger community to make sure this relationship is strengthened. And every time they're sharing new information, new resources, and trying to help each other, this is a community that every startups would need. And especially as a foreign company landing in Japan, I do feel that kind of inclusion, that they're not trying to push everyone out, but just doing it within their own small community. They are making it a bigger and more powerful community over time. And I think that's what I miss the most.
Not the food then.
I mean, I'm from Hong Kong, so Hong Kong has everything that Japan wants to offer. So we have.
Okay, great. So my next question is, tell us what are the most important lessons you guys have learned since the company launched its business in Japan. Oliver, I think you're thinking maybe share.
Okay, what are important lessons that or takeaways about Japan itself? I think it's for me it's really about patience, all right, and patience comes across in several ways. It's not about being over anxious. It's not being over anxious about getting a deal done, all right, because it's more, to me, it's more important about gaining trust and gaining respect and delivering your promise. All right, that is more important than trying to do things double quick. All right, and only to make little mistakes that in a way would hurt the chances of developing a long-term relationship. Building promise and in the products and services that you offer is very, very important. All right, there's a lot of stress and reliance on the promise when they give you a contract or when they establish a relationship with you. It's not just the contractual obligations that sits on the paper itself. It's more than that. All right, their clients depend on them. Their reputation in a way is being affected by the service that you provide them, which they in turn provide to their clients or consumers. So there's more than the contract itself. So And if you realize, okay, many Japanese contracts are actually quite short compared with, English contracts, common law contracts, which is like, oh, very, very long, right? The reason for that is a lot of the social contract and the business contract, the business understanding sits outside of that paper, all right? And that is something that one has to deeply understand, that when you shake their hand and when you give them a promise, you got to deliver as what they would deliver to their counterparts in Japan as well. That's very, very important.
Got it. Tim, how about you?
I would say I would resonate with Oliver said about the amount of trust that we have to develop with local talents and local partners. I think it's a very common observation that they are not trying to build a business with you. They are trying to build a very long-term relationship and partnership with you. If they see value in partnering with you, if they don't actually see that, they don't. They wouldn't even start to build that relationship, right? It requires effort for them to do so. So I guess that what makes it very special. In other markets, what you have to present is that actually the best business offer, best business deal, terms, commercials, everything, right? You just want to build something, put something on the table that they cannot refuse. But I think what again is treasured the most, it's the relationship and actually the amount of trust that they can put in your team. It's something that go beyond that piece of contract. It's actually they're entrusting their customers, their resources, limited resources, to work with a partner like yourself, and you're not a company that they have known for years, but a foreign company with only 2-3 years of history in this region. Why they should trust you, why they should work with you, is actually something you have to put a lot of effort in presenting. On that's a lot more important than the business deal itself. So yeah, I resonate a lot with Oliver on this point. Yeah.
Great. So I think my last question is, could you guys please give some advices to companies that plan to launch in Japan? Let's start with Oliver.
Okay, I seem to be getting the first question all the time. Okay. Foreign companies going into Japan itself, some advice, I would say, don't assume, number one, don't assume the practices that you are most familiar with in your home countries or other countries will work in Japan. All right, that's the first, first advice I would give them. Number two, take a long-term approach in Japan itself. If you're out for a short-term gain, you'll be very disappointed. All right, Japan is it's a long-term market. Most companies, corporate or startups, when they go into Japan, they need to develop a long-term vision and plan to engage. They need to be prepared to invest time and effort and energies into growing this market. All right, if you're treating Japan as any other market itself that is no different from other markets that you go into, I think that's a mistake, I would say. And number three, it's very important, okay, for any companies, especially startups going into Japan, you are a unknown. You may be very well known in Southeast Asia, you may be very well known in Hong Kong or China or Europe, but in Japan, they don't know you. It doesn't mean anything, all right? So you need to go in and develop visibility, all right? Visibility that translates into credibility and that translates into trust. And that means, getting engaged in trade events, getting engaged in community, social, business community circles in a startup, talk about your offering, talk about why is that, useful, share your learnings with them. And most importantly, be authentic. All right, be authentic, because that gains trust, that gains credibility, and that builds the overall plan. I think these are the three simple advice I have.
Great, cool. How about you, Tim?
Right. I probably have only one key advice for companies to launch Japan. be prepared to almost demolish everything you know outside of Japan when you launch in Japan. Try to know nothing when you launch in a new market like Japan. So the preparation, everything you have, everything you know from other markets might not be applicable locally. And if you really want to strike a success in this market, make sure you are prepared to localize everything in your product, everything in your supply chain, and almost everything you know about how to do business. So, and a smaller advice that goes after this and goes hand in hand with it is find people who knows about the market to operate it as the first person on the ground. And we learn it the hard way. We try to, again, just launch as an international company, have an international team going locally to try and do business. Doesn't work. You have to have someone who are Japanese, not just as simple as hiring a local, but if they know about what happens outside of Japan, that's a big plus. That they know how foreigners are trying to do things in Japan, and they are your biggest bridge between what's happening outside of Japan, the practice, the know-how, and the technology outside of it, and how to successfully transcend that into what's applicable in Japan. So I think there are lots of talents in Japan that is built with that profile and experience to work with companies and people outside of Japan that can successfully build that bridge and make the localization successful.
Great, thanks. Great, I think we've run out of time. Thanks, Tim and Oliver, for joining us and sharing your insights with us. For our audience, I hope you got a deeper perspective on the Japanese business ecosystem and have some best practices you can take away or share with others. Thank you. 谢谢.
If you would like to know more about business in Tokyo and have any questions, please contact Access to Tokyo members near your location. Access to Tokyo is one of the Invest Tokyo initiatives of Tokyo Metropolitan Government for promoting Tokyo as the world's leading business city. Access to Tokyo is located in Singapore, San Francisco, Paris, and London. Try typing in Access to Tokyo in Invest Tokyo's website's FAQ chatbot for contact information. The Invest Tokyo website now has a chatbot available to improve your Invest Tokyo experience. The chatbot offers 24/7 support and quick answers to your questions regarding Tokyo's support programs, business programs, and more. Try typing in Why Tokyo to start the conversation. Thank you for watching the Unleash Tokyo online event. Please give us your feedback of the event from the survey link in the description box. There is a free download of Tokyo's latest market and trend report available at the end of the survey. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for your honest feedback. Our next session is Startup Co-Creation of a Major Japanese Financial Institution, presented by Yuta Kurimoto, Joint General Manager, Digital Strategy Department at Sumitomo Mitsui Financial Group.
Hello, I'm Yuta Kurimoto, Joint General Manager of the SMBC Group Digital Strategy Department. Today, I will talk about collaboration between startups and SMBC, presented from here, Hoopslinks Tokyo, which is Innovation Hub for SMBC Group. First of all, you may have the impression that collaborating with a Japanese enterprise is a tough challenge. Even more so if it's with a traditional Japanese bank. That is not true. Today, I will explain how the SMBC Group works with startups around the world as a gateway to Tokyo and the rest of Japan. Before jumping to the main topic, let me introduce the SMBC Group. SMBC stands for Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation and was founded by the merger of Sumitomo Bank and Mitsui Bank in 2001. Though SMBC itself has only 20 years of history, the Sumitomo and Mitsui banks have been in operation for over 400 years. The history of Sumitomo dates back to the copper refining business in the 17th century. That business later diversified into a variety of fields, including banking. The Sumitomo Group is now one of Japan's largest business groups. The Mitsui Bank dates back to the Echigoya clothing store from the 17th century. They diversified into a money exchange business to facilitate domestic payments and purchases, which would become the foundation for Mitsui Bank. The Mitsui Group is also one of Japan's largest business groups today. The SMBC Group consists of various financial institutions such as banking, leasing, securities, credit card, consumer finance, and so on. We can meet a wide range of customer needs with our comprehensive financial solutions. Our new mid to long-term vision is to become a trusted global solution provider committed to the growth of our customers and the advancement of society. To achieve this vision, we will become more data-oriented, take on challenges to build platform businesses, and expand our business domains to become a comprehensive solution provider to our clients. Digitalization is the key to transforming the SMBC Group to achieve these goals. We will use digital innovation, DI, and digital transformation, DX, to become proactive and customer-oriented, while also focusing on defensive digitalization for cost reductions and operational improvements. DI will allow us to dive into non-financial businesses to develop valuable platform businesses, and DX will transform our existing businesses models, such as embedded finance or new financial business utilizing data. To boost DI and DX, we will make the most of our global network of startups. We have innovation centers to develop DI and DX, such as the Silicon Valley Digital Innovation Lab in Bay Area, US, the Asia Innovation Center in Singapore, and the Hoops Links in Tokyo and Kobe, Japan. We also have venture capital partners such as Geodesic Capital in Silicon Valley, Isoma Capital in London, and Plug and Play in Silicon Valley and Tokyo as accelerators. BTPN in Indonesia is another SMBC Group company that operates Genius, which is one of the first mobile banks in Indonesia. As the former head of the Silicon Valley Lab, please allow me to explain about its activities. The Silicon Valley Digital Innovation Lab is the research and Development Hub of SMBC Group's Global Innovation Network. Engineers and analysts across SMBC Group engage with startups to find promising technologies and new digital business models. Once we identify a promising startup, we discuss what kind of digital business the startup and the SMBC Group can develop together, verify their technology, and discuss how the SMBC Group can support a startup entering the Japanese market. SMBC Group has collaborated with many overseas startups for business development. We have invested in well-known startups like Square and Stripe in the payment area in their early stages, and supported each company entering the Japanese market. We have also collaborated with startups all over the world, using unique technologies and business models in areas such as data analytics, RPA, and so on. Next, I will talk about two collaborations between startups and the SMBC Group in the areas like geospatial tech and conversational AI. The first case is a collaboration with Obiro Insight. Obiro Insight is a Silicon Valley-based geospatial data service company, empowering enterprise decision makers with satellite imagery data, computer vision, and a cloud platform. Obiro Insight's technologies have given the SMBC Group many data-oriented business cases, increasing research and finance monitoring productivity, and allowing us to make the right decisions. To bring this value to our clients, SMBC launched a geospatial data service powered by Obiro Insight. By analyzing and combining different data sources such as foot traffic, transportation patterns, and land use data provided by Obiro Insight, you could gain insights regarding changes in consumer lifestyles after COVID-19, monitor anomalies in the supply chain, and visualize sustainability activities. To provide these services to our customers, SMBC analyzes Obiro Insights data and provides our clients with analysis and insights to solve their problems. We hope that this collaboration will lead to a win-win situation between startups, our clients, and SMBC. This slide explains how the collaboration started. In 2017, SMBC began researching how to understand social and economic change through technology. We identified Obiro Insight as a potential partner to analyze business risks and opportunities. Over the last 2 years, SMBC and Obiro Insights conducted several proof-of-concept tests. SMBC began using Obiro internally for business cases. In 2020, COVID-19 changed our societies and made economies invisible. To help our clients navigate this uncertain environment and make better decisions, SMBC and Obiro Insight launched the geospatial data service to make the invisible visible. The next case is Organize, which is a conversational AI provider. The SMBC Group utilizes and has continuously updated the technology used at our call center. Recently, we began using an advanced conversational AI developed by Organize at our call center and at SMBC Group headquarters to help operators give faster, more accurate responses to inquiries. We hope this smart technology will increase customer satisfaction and boost employee productivity. This AI is preloaded and smart enough from the first day you use it. We hope to expand the use cases not only within the SMBC Group, but also to other financial institutions and to our clients. By adding our knowledge and experience on top of their technology and service, SMBC Group could support overseas startups expanding into the Japanese market. I hope SMBC can evolve into a real solution provider through this Gateway to Japan initiative. If you'd like to socialize with innovators in Japan, please come here to a Hoops Link. Hoops Link are SMBC Japan's innovation network hubs, and two are located in the Shibuya, Tokyo, and Kobe, Kansai areas. Hoops Link functions as a communication and ideation space where innovators can get together and co-create ideas. Various events are held in the evening. Due to the pandemic, we are running Hoops Space online, so please join Hoops Link's digital and online events from around the globe. We help startups with various aspects of their businesses, including finance, commercialization, equity, boosting sales channels, debt, HR development, and supporting IPOs and M&As. We also organize and operate an acceleration program called Mirai, where startups have the opportunity to collaborate with Japanese enterprises, SMEs, academia, and government. This is how the SMBC Group collaborates with startups from overseas and functions as a gateway to Tokyo and the rest of Japan. I hope we can work together and build win-win situation in near future. Thank you very much for listening.
Up next is The Current Business Market in Tokyo as Seen by European Influencers, presented by Boma founder Michel Levy-Provencal and Samantha Evans, Head of International at Tech Nation.
Thank you very much for joining today. As a part of Access to Tokyo Formalization Trip, we will conduct a panel discussion regarding the charm of Tokyo from the perspective of overseas influencer. Our panelists have joined Access to Tokyo Formalization Trip for 3 days, and they'll be sharing about their point of view. So we would like to welcome Ms. Samantha and Mr. Michel. Could you both kindly introduce yourself?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed the last few days learning more about Tokyo and how our companies can do business. So I appreciate the invitation. So my name's Sam Evans and I'm the head of international for Tech Nation. We're a non-for-profit in the UK working with some of the best, fastest growth UK tech companies as they grow throughout their journey. I joined in September to help build out our international department. So we are now going to be working with our scale-ups as they look overseas at their expansion, and we're going to begin in the APAC region. So Tech Nation ourselves are expanding, as well as helping some of our 700 companies that have been through our growth programs as well, win business, look at international VC investment, and open up operations across different regions, across the APAC region, but Japan is a key market for us.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Samantha. And Mr. Michel, could you kindly introduce yourself?
Yes, of course. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's the second time I'm invited because I started to be an ambassador of Tokyo in 2018. I was invited physically to come and attend to the trip. For me, well, just to present myself, to introduce myself very quickly, I'm the co-founder of a community named Boma. Boma is a global community of change makers, futurists, people who are trying to help leaders all over the world, young leaders, but also people who have a company working in a big corporation to transform their companies, to transform their business, to try to solve the big issues we're facing today. We are also in Japan. Boma is in Japan. I'm based in France. I was born in Morocco. And for 10 years, I've organized, after importing the TEDx conference in Europe, I've organized the TEDx Paris conference for 10 years in Paris. So I'm involved in different ecosystems of innovators and in contact with many startups, many people who are trying to solve the issues we're facing. And for me, it's a fantastic opportunity to put them in contact with the city of Tokyo, maybe to help them create the business there, or start a partnership with the city, not only to make business in Japan, but in the all Asian area, because Tokyo could be a perfect spot to start business in Asia.
Wonderful. Thank you very much both for your introduction. So I would like to start asking you a question about how was the experience of familiarization trip? And I believe, Mr. Michel, you mentioned that you have last visited in Japan in 2018. What has your impression of Tokyo compared to 2 years ago? How has your impression changed or from your last visit?
Well, a lot of things changed since 2018, of course, because of the crisis, of the COVID crisis. If I take the French example, I see that we had on one side a lot of problems just after the first lockdown, a lot of businesses in tourism, culture, restaurants, events company, have stopped the activity. And on the other side, a lot of actors use this opportunity, if we can qualify it as an opportunity, to transform themselves and to be more digital, to open internationally, to decentralize their model. And the first thing which is interesting here is that for this kind of organization, the program is really an opportunity. They have the opportunity to access to the Asian market through Tokyo. And this is the first thing that changed radically since 2018. The second thing that was clearly a change for me is that in 2018, when I met the different companies, the funds, the Tokyo ecosystem, I found it quite how can I say, I would say conservative, focused on finance, innovation, and not very innovative, in fact, 2 years ago. Quite oriented in tech, in IoT and artificial intelligence. And I remember that during a meeting, I had the opportunity to say that there was something that I missed during this first trip, was the fact that the question of the innovation for impact was not at all in the discourse, in the mouth of the people I met at that time. And today, the main difference is that I see that ESG, innovation for impact, and this kind of mindset is really at the center of the discussions, but also the investment I see in Japan. And this is a big difference. The market is less conservative, more open, and more oriented open innovation. And finally, what I would say is that 2 years ago, there was a big ambition. There was a willingness. The government wanted to attract talents and companies. And what I see today is that you have examples of companies, of innovators that have started to build a business in Tokyo. If I take the example of Finolab, 20% of their investment is today in companies that are not Japanese companies. And this is a great signal, because in just 2 years, from a vision, you're starting to build something real. And I hope that maybe next year or in the next 2 years, this growth rate will be much more important. And from 0% to 20%, maybe in 2023, we will see 40 or 50% of companies that will be in the funds you're working with or in the ecosystem of innovation in Tokyo. So here are the three main differences I see from 2018 and today.
Wonderful, thank you. We hope, yes, that it will accelerate into more of the growth of collaboration with the foreign startup, as well as building ecosystem together. Thank you for your comment. And Ms. Samantha, how about you? As you mentioned, you haven't had the chance to visit Tokyo yet. What was the impression of Tokyo after joining this online trip so far?
Yeah, it was not good timing for me to join this organization and then not be able to come to Tokyo. So hopefully soon we'll be able to visit. And just to step back slightly, I think that this has come at a perfect time for the companies that we work with across the UK. You know, post-Brexit, post-COVID recovery with the UK government, we work really closely with the Department for International Trade, which is a UK government organisation, to help our tech scale-ups really understand the opportunities across the market. And I think that's a key part of my role. So the more I understand, the more I can share with them. And I've picked up quite a lot. I mean, my impression of Tokyo has been very strong. I've just spent the last 8 years living in Silicon Valley. So a lot of our companies from the US would go to Japan. A lot of investment comes from SoftBank. So my impression was always that it's a safe environment for tech companies, and the IP and data protection is really important for our companies. A lot of VC investment from Japan going into Silicon Valley and into the UK, which has always been pretty strong. I think one of the points that we talk to our companies about is the cultural differences and how to really navigate that to make sure that you present your business in the right way, but also are culturally sensitive, so that we understand how we can really capitalize on some of the opportunities across Japan. So coming from the sessions we've had in the last 3 days over the familiarization trip, even though it was virtual, I think I've learnt lots. I've really enjoyed speaking to the companies that have already been there and done that, some of the VCs that you had in the market that came to talk to us. I think TMG do a really good job in Japan to help companies land there and really are supportive. So as we're growing and we're working with the companies from Tech Nation alumni and cohorts, really connecting them with you to make sure that they're getting that on the ground support. So yeah, really excited about that.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. Yes, it's very interesting to hear about the mix of cultural difference of business and how people need to navigate when starting in the new environment, especially when the situation with UK and Japan is culturally different. But thank you for pointing that out. Wonderful. And moving on to the next question. What discovery were made and what attraction did you notice about Tokyo? So what are the key points to be considered when expanding into Tokyo if you would like to suggest to startup, if startup are interested coming into Tokyo? Could we start with Ms. Samantha?
Sure, thank you. So I think one of the things that I learned this week was, especially around the fintech and financial regulation, is that there's a lot that's now done in English. We pass on the message that a lot of business across the region is done in English, but I think that really takes the risk away for a lot of our companies, that when they're looking at regulation, they're looking at the legal side of it, that they can understand not just the written word in translation, but really what it means as an overall ease of business for them. So a couple of the things that our companies look at are ease of business, language, talent, and how do they converse and with their teams across different nationalities and different parts of the world. And how do they transfer their own company culture and how does that fit in with their teams around the world? So that was really important for me to hear. And also that Japan's the 6th globally for IP protection was really important. The two things that our companies talk to me about when we're talking about regulation is the movement of people and the movement of data. So for them to have that protection and to take that risk away really helps Japan be a landing spot for the rest of the region.
Wonderful, yes. As you mentioned, how IP aspect is quite important aspect, not only for the startup, but as a country and as a Japan as a whole, I think. So wonderful. And for Mr. Michel, do you have any key takeaway points that you would like to share with the startup when they consider about expanding into Tokyo?
Yes, I think the fact that you have real examples of companies, European companies, French companies, by the way, that have created their bureau in Tokyo is a great argument. If I take the example of Imai, which is a French company who's developing autonomous vehicles they're launching a new project in Tokyo. I cannot say more because it's quite confidential, but we've heard that during the trip. Is a great example for other companies in Europe and in France that it is possible. It's not just a fantasy, it's really possible. And we all know how much Tokyo can be an attractive place for many young people or entrepreneurs, just for the quality of life, for the culture, for the art, for food, for the city itself, for the architecture, for also the innovative culture of Japan. And the fact that the city is developing this program to attract those talents is a great news. They're doing a lot of efforts to be more open than we can imagine. Of course, we all know that Japan has this insular culture, which could be interpreted as conservative, not really open to the world, but in fact, you see how much efforts they're making. Efforts to limit the friction for any foreign startup to come and to create their bureau there, to help them with regulation, with language. The difference of language is really important. I've seen how much efforts the Japanese people have made just to speak English to foreigners, which was not something easy some years ago. The administrative aspects of it, the fact that you have developed a one-touch point also for those startups. And of course, these ecosystems of funds, of incubators, there is Finolab, there is KDDI, there is a lot of opportunities, in fact, for those startups to open a bureau there. One thing maybe TMG could do, they're not doing today, they're helping a lot by opening their doors, by helping in different aspects. But one thing they could do is also invest, maybe create a public fund or develop a program to finance those startups, which is not the case today. There are private investment, but some public investment will be also a great opportunity to accelerate this movement that started, I don't know exactly, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, but which is working today because we have some examples, but it could work much more if we had this opportunity to have some public investment also from the city.
Thank you very much for pointing that out. I think wonderful that to know that you've seen 2018 and then hear a little bit online on 2020 and see the cultural difference as well as city people trying to speak more English, and it's business-oriented. Business is possible in English is something that we could take upon, as well as a public needs of a public fund as well. Just to also supplement a few things, I think the Tokyo Financial Award that did happen in February 8th was a few of the companies were awarded with the funding, but as you mentioned, you would say that there may be more interest if there's more public funding. So thank you for your advice on that. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so we would like to ask you, how would you describe Tokyo in one word as attraction of Tokyo? Could Ms. Samantha, could we start with you?
I would say opportunity. As I'm working with a lot of the scale-ups from Tech Nation, you know, there's the fintech, there's AI opportunities, there's a lot of IoT and robotics opportunities across Japan. I'm really excited to get going. We're partnering with Plug and Play to send about 10 companies across to either Singapore or Japan to be part of their Growth Accelerator program in the next couple of months. So that should launch at the end of March. And then as we grow ourselves, we'll be working with companies with the UK government's digital trade network as part of that to attract UK companies to the region. So I'm really excited to work more with TMG and the DIT teams across the region.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing your comments about that you were planning already in end of March with combination with the Plug and Play as well as UK digital government as well. Thank you. And Mr. Michel, how would you describe one word of Tokyo?
Well, in one word, a word that I've also used a little bit earlier, which the word is culture. I think the culture of Japan, the culture of Tokyo is a fantastic opportunity, argument, I would say, to attract people all around the world in this city. We have a bureau, by the way, as Boma in Japan and in Tokyo. We are really a transcultural organization. We have people coming from 10 countries. This is a really important thing for us to be really open to the world. And I think Tokyo is making a lot of efforts to be open to the world. And it's a fantastic gate to the Asian area. So for me, the most important thing and argument for people who would be interested in starting a business in Asia is to consider Tokyo as a platform to do it.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. I think the word culture is something that it resonated throughout these sessions, as well as Mr. Michel and what Ms. Samantha had mentioned as well. So yeah, it's wonderful to hear that you feel that Tokyo is more open in terms of culture-wise. It's transforming into new ways to collaborate with startups. So thank you for your comment. So we would like to conclude our panel session for today, but hopefully we'll have a chance to meet in person to welcome you again in Tokyo. But thank you once again for your time. And one last thing, would you like to comment one last thing before we close off our panel session, Mr. Michel?
Yeah, I would like to thank you, all of you, for this fantastic moment we had during the 3 days. It was shorter than last time, but it was intense like last time. And I hope that next year we will meet physically all together in Tokyo. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you. And Ms. Samantha, would you like to say a few words before we close off?
I would echo that as well. We're really excited with our expansion to Tokyo, and I'm excited that I'm going to be out there hopefully more than once in 2021. I'm really looking forward to meeting all the other influencers that's been on this trip. It's been really great. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. So we would like to close our panel session today for the charm of Tokyo from perspective of overseas influencer.
If you would like to know more about business in Tokyo and have any questions, please contact Access to Tokyo members near your location. Access to Tokyo is one of the Invest Tokyo initiatives of Tokyo Metropolitan Government for promoting Tokyo as the world's leading business city. Access to Tokyo is located in Singapore, San Francisco, Paris, and London. Try typing in Access to Tokyo in Invest Tokyo's website's FAQ chatbot for contact information. The Invest Tokyo website now has a chatbot available to improve your Invest Tokyo experience. The chatbot offers 24/7 support and quick answers to your questions regarding Tokyo's support programs, business programs, and more. Try typing in "Why Tokyo" to start the conversation. Thank you for watching the Unleash Tokyo online event. Please give us your feedback of the event from the survey link in the description box. There is a free download of Tokyo's latest market and trend report available at the end of the survey. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for your honest feedback. Our next session is Overview of Startup Investment by Major Japanese Financial Institutions and the FinTech Environment in Japan, presented by Mitsunobu Okubo, Advisory Board of Mitsuho Financial Group and Blue Lab.
Thank you very much for the great opportunity to present today. I am a representative of digital strategy at Mizuho Financial Group. Today, I'd like to introduce our strategy towards open innovation. I am promoting open innovation and digital transformation through public-private partnership in 5 workplaces. Each workplace is about only 5 minutes distance by bicycle. In Kasumigaseki, as Assistant Chief Information Officer of the Cabinet Secretariat, I am promoting an action plan for digital governance, while I take responsibility for promoting digital innovation and fintech. Turamomon is one of the national strategic special zones that is attracting foreign companies and serves as a mentor for startup companies. Next, Kabutocho is the birthplace of bank in Japan, and the Fintech Association is a member of the FinGate. I am in charge of the advisory board. Now, let me simply introduce Mizuho Financial Group first, following up with FinLabo. Mizuho has further enhanced its banking, trust, and securities unification strategy. By focusing on asset management, the consulting field, and other areas, Mizuho is aiming at becoming a comprehensive financial group that can even more efficiently serve its customers. We have a wide network including about 900 offices in Japan and abroad, with a strong customer base in terms of business for both individuals and corporations. Next, I would like to introduce Blue Label. It was founded in June 2017 with venture capital investment with the purpose of being independent from our bank. Their main focus is being an agile organization that can quickly develop new business and new ideas based on open innovation. Right after this, I am starting off with the background of our activities based on the regulatory changes and the transition of payment service in Japan. Continuing with how we plan to achieve digital transformation, after that, I will show you the example of our achievement and output, ramping up with where we aim to go in the future. While fintech growth in other countries stabilizes, people still expect the fintech market in Japan to grow even more. It has, and in fact, been growing significantly, especially after 2018, and CAGR is projected to be 51% based on the past performance. Its market size seems to be around $110 million USD by the year of 2022, and high growth is expected in the future. COVID-19 has pushed DX in Japan society as well, and therefore the demand for fintech has increased. Japanese government positioned fintech as part of the national strategy and supporting its proactive innovation for economic growth and environmental improvement of the market in order to solve social problems. Let me introduce 6 examples of deregulation. First, revision for the cross-industry regulation. The complicated licensing system and expensive cost to align the regulations had made the bar very high for the new entries from other industries, so they eliminated the complicated regulation system and set a fair competitive environment. And second, no more cap when investing fintech companies. By relaxing the regulation to limit the investment in other industries to 5% and 10% to banks and security companies, respectively, that can now invest as much as they want. Third, further utilization of data. The data was not utilized well due to the heavy emphasis on personal information protection and other security issues. Now, it is possible to send data between vendors within the allowance of personal information protection. So those projects of new service development and information bank can move faster. Fourth, complete transaction online. When opening a bank account online, you can choose to complete the transaction from mailing or online ID check using smartphone and apps after submitting other information. Fifth, simplified license for payment. Accept cash transfer of more than 1 million yen with fund transfer service provide license. This required banking license before. Sixth, next addition of financial intermediation license. Accept intermediation in banking, security, and insurance industries using financial service intermediation license. This required intermediation license in one of the bank, security, or insurance industry before. Thanks to these deregulations, open innovation projects between fintech companies and Japanese financial institutions have boosted. For example, collaboration with payment vendor through API, and operation efficiency improvement with AI, chatbot, etc. by banks, digitalization of securities using security token, and even collecting health information using wearable device in insurance industry, etc. All the services have been released already after demonstration experiment. Now, let me explain the transition of payment service in Japan. Here in this slide, it shows customer service provider, payment network, and 3 different payment method categories by each law. For the top, we have real-time bank payment, prepaid, and postpaid. And on right, you can see the overseas transfer network. Many payment vendors are concentrated in the payment settlement act layer in Japan, and they provide unique services. This is a landscape map of domestic cash payment service made by Cloudcast. We use banks and credit card to top it up on those payment service. While banks made their API available in order to collaborate with startups for open innovation. In payment network layer, there is J-Coin led mainly by Mizuho Bank. There are 90 financial institutions joining. This type of operation is now as Zengin Lite, and players like J-Coin and D-Collect could possibly provide inexpensive transfer method. Instead of ZenginNet, in the existing Swift layer, speedy payment code developed by MUFJ and Akamai is getting a lot of attention lately. In service provider area, Apple, Google, and Amazon are providing financial service already and made a new structure like this. Under this situation, BaaS, which is an API retail banking, has arose as a new business model. What is so unique about this? The bank do not directly provide service to users. The users match the finance service to the service that they use daily is different industry, so that the banks can provide their service industry through other vendors. By using this indirect model by BaaS, there are values for banks, vendors, and customers. Banks can gain new customer base by using indirect channel through vendors. Vendors can provide financial function to user in their service without banking license, so that they can focus on providing high-quality service with added value their users. And consumers, meaning the vendors' users, can use familiar service with financial function. Especially for banks, getting access to those customer base of vendors by providing BaaS is a great value. After 2000 in Japan, internet banking by Sony, e-commerce Rakuten, and others have increased. Nowadays, cross-industry collaboration like SMBC and Yahoo, Aozora Bank and HIS, which is tourist agency, and even a new bank by Mizuho Bank and LINE have arose. Please look at this landscape map made by me. BaaS model business has been expanding with fintech startup, Infukurion as a lead. I believe it is not too much to say that those fintech companies with banking API is connected to take the key role of BaaS. In order to achieve the digital transformation as for Mizuho Financial Group, we have built a new collaborate ecosystem to gather the innovative and foreseeing ideas from tech companies and create actual business leveraging Mizuho's creativity, knowledge, and assets. Now, let me briefly share with you the example of outcome. I will show you the examples by 3 categories. So, as for the collaborating by practices, first is the collaboration with railway company JR. We provide mobile wallet for train transaction. Currently, we are testing the prototype at stadium at event venue. For our second category of best practices, I'd like to present our lending service leveraging AI and big data for individual and commercial use at Mizuho Financial Group. J-Score is the Japan's first AI score lending service with investment from SoftBank and Mizuho Bank in 2016. With this, consumer can check their scoring information and special interest just by 3 steps. We are making revenue by providing this scoring information with consumers' approval to third parties like online-offline shopping such as Yahoo and Takashimaya. As for the commercial businesses, we provide fully online loan service to small firm as well, where AI comes in and screen loan application without earning figures based on data of money flows from potential borrower's bank account. Loan will be provided just in 2 business days after the apply, the earliest. Finally, the last example of our digital transformation achievement. Now, within our company, we are developing AI BPR in a wide range of operations, from front-end to mid-end to the back-end. For specific process such as a bank account operating and mortgage loan, we are now preparing to package it to sell since it replicated to other banks. This package includes solution for automating data processing of handwritten documents and non-standard forms using AI, OCR, and RPA technology, based on the result of proof of concept testing on requests for direct debit from accounts. Manual data entry was reduced by approximately 80%. So today, I presented the background of open innovation necessity, activities, and achievements so far of our towards open innovation. Now, where are we going to next? Mizuho Financial Group has announced their 5-year business strategy. Key strategy is open and connect and passionate and professional. What does this mean? First, predict the change in internal and external environment And second, engage the external companies while we leverage our asset and expand our existing bank business. In areas like real estate, PropTech, retail tech, mass, where CausMap exists, we believe we can make new business faster if we collaborate with fintech startup. So going forward, we will continue to collaborate with external tech companies, startups, and other industries by providing our financial strengths, such as security, consumer database, and authentication feature, and together we engage in more open innovation and digital transformation. Thank you very much for your time and attention. This will be all from today. Thank you.
Concluding today's sessions is Exploring Life in Tokyo Part 2, Tokyo, a City of Tradition, presented by special guest Kabuki actor Kazutaro Nakamura.
いずれも様には東京の真の魅力を発信するオンラインイベントアンリーシュ東京にお越しいただき誠にありがとうございます。私、歌舞伎俳優の中村和太郎にござりまする。中村和太郎、小野優子、アート歌舞伎。我々歌舞伎俳優は、演劇の世界全体でしたけれど、2020年の3月から全く公演がなくなってしまいまして、8月に再開できるまで約5ヶ月、何も舞台をやることができませんでした。そんな中、私も3月の舞台がなくなり、4月の舞台がなくなり、立て続けに全く先が見えなくなってしまった時に、どうしていこうかといった時に、一つはやはりこういう時なので、研鑽の時期と申しますか、自分で何かを研究したり修行をする、稽古をするということも考えたんですが、何かこの時にやっておかなくては未来の歌舞伎というものが残っていかないんじゃないかというぐらいまで危機感を持ちまして、そこでまずは今できることをお客様にどうやって見てもらえるかって考えた時に、オンラインで何かをするということかと思ったんですね。やはり人が集まれない、そして人と人が会えないという状況でしたので、もうこれはインターネット、オンラインの世界に頼るしかないなというところからいろいろと考えまして、まずは自分の YouTube チャンネルというものを立ち上げたんですが、なぜこれを立ち上げたかというのも、お話が後になりますが、アート歌舞伎を、有料配信のアート歌舞伎をするために、まずは無料の YouTube をといった、そんな思いで作りました。で、アート歌舞伎は、そんな YouTube の無料のものでやって、オンラインでこれからこういった歌舞伎、日本舞踊、日本の文化を配信していくんだという姿勢を見せまして、いざ有料でお客様がどれだけ見ていただけるかという、新たな歌舞伎の作品の挑戦をさせていただいた、そんなアート歌舞伎の立ち上げでしたね。そうですね、まさに今撮っていただいているのもカメラを通じて皆様に届けているということになると思うんですが、私としてもこういったことで歌舞伎をやるのは初めてでした。もちろん今まで生の舞台をやったものを撮影してシネマ歌舞伎になっていたり、また配信していたりということはあったんですが、配信のために作る歌舞伎というのは今まで私は経験したことがなかったので、今おっしゃってくださったまさにどうやってビジネス的な戦略を練って売っていくのか、またどういった形が一番美しく見えるのかということに注目をして着目して作っていきました。なのでありがたいことにまず反響としていただいたのは本当に絵が綺麗だということと音が素敵だということ、この2つでしたね。で、あとはやはりいつもの歌舞伎ですと 古典の衣装を身につけて、古典のメイクをして、そして古典のかつらをつけてということなんですが、そこを一新いたしまして、そこに現代のアートを入れることで、アート×歌舞伎でアート歌舞伎ということで、そういったことのやはりデザイン性の反響も多くいただきましたね。そうですね、まずは最初に述べさせていただいたように、やはり歌舞伎が日本でできない、日本の歌舞伎ファンの方はもちろん日本で歌舞伎を見ることができないということで、国内のもちろん歌舞伎ファンの皆様、また歌舞伎を見たいと思う方に届くようにという思いがあったのですが、せっかく作るのであればやはりグローバルに世界に発信できる、その強みがインターネットオンラインにはあると思ったので、最初に配信したのはもちろん日本語で日本の方のためにということだったんですが、その時からやはり海外に二次利用して配信していこうというのは考えていましたね。で、特に今回どうやって作るかということで注目して、どうやって作るかということで私が気にしたのが、歌舞伎というのは歌って舞って技を見せる、演技を見せるということなんですが、この歌というのはやはり我々セリフということになって言葉を発するんですが、セリフを発するとやはりなかなか言葉がわからないと内容が理解できないということがあったと思うので、我々演者は全く言葉を使わず大義だけで表現するということで、そこにより、世界に浸透していく演劇の力というのを踊り、大義、演技で見せるということに、注目してやりましたね。なのでもちろん、演奏家の美容の演奏家の方の言葉は字幕で補ったりしましたけれど、何でしょう、言葉がなくても伝わる、そういった映像配信にしたいなという思いがありましたね。昨年の7月にこのアート歌舞伎を国内でまず配信いたしまして、その後11月にロシアで、そして、今年入りまして2月3月に今スペイン語圏、ポルトガル語圏の皆様に見ていただける配信を海外で行っているんですが、まだこの先も、アメリカ、各国、欧米各国ですね、いろいろなお話もいただいているので、どんどん、そのために字幕を作るという作業はあるんですけれど、やはりどんどん広がっていきたいなという思いはありまして、その中でもやはり多くいただいたのは音楽のことですね。今回歌舞伎ではなかなか使わない琴ですとか津軽三味線、笛で、太鼓も歌舞伎で使うような太鼓というのも和太鼓、いろいろな種類の太鼓を使うということで、その音色が何かちょっと洋に近いところがあるというご感想をいただいたりしましたので、洋というのは洋楽に近いという、例えば25弦のことですと25弦あるので音階も幅広いわけですね。それがハープのように聞こえたりとか、また打楽器の太鼓がたくさん並ぶとそれがドラムのような印象を受けたりとか、そういったご感想を海外の方からいただいて、あと一番大きいのはやはりファッション性につながるアートの部分ですね。衣装、化粧がかなり斬新で、そういったところに注目して見てくださった海外の方もいらっしゃいましたね。そうですね、私の、身を置く歌舞伎界、約400年前、江戸時代からこの歌舞伎というのができて、脈々と諸先輩たちが受け継いで、先人たちが作った基盤があるわけですね。なんでその本当にぶれない何百年もの基盤があるからこそ、我々は現代に生きながら今とその基盤の伝統を掛け合わせて新しいことを作れる。で、本当に私信念として、伝統は攻めてこそ守られるという言葉を大事にしているんですけれど、その中でも一番大事にしているのは、その様式を残すというよりも、そこの中に生まれる間を生かすというか、空間を生かすということをすごく大事にしていますね。日本文化すべてにこれは言えることだと思うんですけれど、衣食住にも関わることです。こういった日本建築にも間がありますし、また茶道、華道などにも何とも言えぬ間が、間と書いた間がそこに生じるんだと思うんです。これをやはり歌舞伎のどんな演技でも大事にしていますし、今回のアート歌舞伎でもそこの歌舞伎における間、空間というものをとても大事にしました。なので舞台を能楽堂にしてみたり、また、我々の演技における間、音楽における間というのをすごく大事にはしていますね。特に今やはりリモートでこういった形で会議をしたり、レンズ越しに会議をしたり対面ですることってなかなかなくなったと思うんですが、やはり対面でこそ生まれる間があると思うので、そういったことをやはりビジネス、何か打ち合わせをする時もそうだし、人と何かを 話し合う時、ものを作る時もそうなんですが、やはりそれはすごく意識しては僕はいますね。やはり日本としても、東京としてもオリンピックという今目標がある中で、我々は日本文化としてどうやっていくのかというのはすごく試されている時だと思います。それはコロナが落ち着き収束した時にどうできているかということだと思うんですね。そのためにもまだまだこのコロナ禍できることはたくさんあると思いますし、ただ忘れてはいけないのは、我々は最後は生の舞台に戻るということだと思います。お客様もやはり生の舞台に戻ってきてもらうということだと思うので、その意識は常に忘れずに持っておりますね。現在ももちろん講演が、続けられていること、これは本当に感謝しなくてはいけないことなんですが、それと同時に今だからできるオンラインのもの、また普及しやすいものというのも作っていかなきゃいけないっていう意識はありますね。東京という言葉、また東京という街を思った時に僕がすぐ出てきたのが、混じり合う、混ざるという字なんですね。日本語で漢字で書くと混ざるというのは交差点の交の字もありますけれど、山水に、昆虫の昆と書いて混ざるという字を意識しました。というのも東京、日本がそうなんですが、海に囲まれてます。海に隣接しているという中での水の流れによる交流があって、でまた下町には川が流れていたりしますし、なんでしょう、人と人が混じるのはもちろんなんですが、新旧が混じり合っている街だというのを強く感じるんですね。ビジネス街があったかと思うと、一本入るとそこには下町の風情が残っていたりする箇所がたくさんありますので、そういった新旧混じる、また人が混じり合う街だからこそ生まれる文化っていうのはあるんじゃないかなと思いますね。で人と人が混じる、技術と技術が混じるっていうだけだと本当に人工的になってしまうんですが、そこになぜそちらの混じる字かというと、やはり水ですとか、自然ですとか、そういったことがすごく多く関わってくると思うんですよね。やはりそこは忘れてはいけないところだと思っていまして、やはり私自身も、このアート歌舞伎という動きの中でも、やはり第2弾第3弾を作っていく中で、今サスティナブルな動きというのもありますけれど、忘れてはいけないのはやはり日本が島国であって、本当に自然と共に生きてきたということだと思うので、でも東京もただただビルが建っている街だけではなくて、今でもそういったことを大切にする動きというのはあると思うので、そういったことを意識してこれからも文化の活動をしていきたいと思ってますね。はい、私歌舞伎俳優としてさまざまな活動をしておりますが、現在も日本の京都南座で歌舞伎公演を行っております。このコロナ禍で生の舞台ができることは大変に嬉しいことなんですが、感染対策、またスタッフ一同大変な時期でもやはり日本の文化を残していかなきゃいけないという思いで公演を行っております。しかしながら海外の方々はなかなか日本に来にくい時だと思います。ぜひそんな皆様には私 SNS、YouTube、Twitter、Instagram などやっておりますので、今できる歌舞伎の魅力を映像や画像で皆さんにお伝えしていっておりますので、ぜひご覧いただけたらと思います。そして晴れてコロナが収束した折には日本に東京に来て、ぜひ歌舞伎の舞台を見ていただきたいと思っております。
If you would like to know more about business in Tokyo and have any questions, please contact Access to Tokyo members near your location. Access to Tokyo is one of the Invest Tokyo initiatives of Tokyo Metropolitan Government for promoting Tokyo as the world's leading business city. Access to Tokyo is located in Singapore, San Francisco, Paris, and London. Try typing in Access to Tokyo in Invest Tokyo's website's FAQ chatbot for contact information. The Invest Tokyo website now has a chatbot available to improve your Invest Tokyo experience. The chatbot offers 24/7 support and quick answers to your questions regarding Tokyo's support programs, business programs, and more. Try typing in Why Tokyo to start the conversation. Thank you for watching the Unleash Tokyo online event. Please give us your feedback of the event from the survey link in the description box. There is a free download of Tokyo's latest market and trend report available at the end of the survey. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for your honest feedback.